Coming up on Extreme Huntress, Jamie and Tatiana are in the books, but the judges still have 2 more contestants to take a closer look at. This week, they'll take a closer look at Meadow and Ulrika. Who's got what it takes to be the next Extreme Huntress? Stay tuned and find out. Four women, one goal. Extreme Huntress. Extreme Huntress is brought to you by Burris Optics, Find What Matters, Coppersmith Global Logistics, serving hunters worldwide, and Sam Hunter Training by FTW. Additional support provided by these fine sponsors. There are only 2 finalists left for the judges to examine. Up first is Meadow.
Miss Meadow, one of the things that we're interested in is, of course, how people communicate, how the ladies communicate. And one of the questions that we're asked quite often, you probably have been too, I mean, Olivia and I talked about what specific question could we ask that's pretty universal. But we finally came up with, why do you hunt? What's your motivation in hunting? Why do you want to go hunting?
I don't know if it was the way I was raised or if it's just ingrained in me, but it's one of the things that brings me the most pleasure and peace in the world. And there's something about being in the moment and nothing more. I'm not worried about the past, the future. I'm not worried about my current workload or my cell phone or all of those obligations in life that stress you out. And it's something that I truly, deeply love. And when I don't get to do it, I begin to feel at a great loss.
To ask you a secondary question along those lines, what do you think other people should ask?
One of the observations I've made, especially as I've gotten older and farther along in my profession as a wildlife biologist, that people are more and more disconnected from the natural world. And truly, the most connected folks, the folks that are most in touch with the natural world and understand it the most, are hunters.
Regarding hunting, the other morning, we got a little bit of a late start.
I don't know where we're going. We're just driving the whole ranch.
What was your thoughts and feelings when all that was going on?
You know, I get a little flustered sometimes because when I go hunting, I'm usually by myself. So when there are variables that come into play, it's usually my fault or just the conditions of where we are. And I was a little aggravated with myself because I didn't speak up sooner. I'm a perfectionist and I hold myself to a very high standard. And so when things are outside of my control, I got a little aggravated with the situation and myself. And so that's where that came from.
I'll tell you, I had been a lot like Meadow in the beginning of my hunting world, not understanding, you know, why is this happening? And I get frustrated and I want to lash out at times, but then I've also learned that sometimes there's just nothing you can do about it.
I want to switch back to the FTW. You started off unbelievably fast.
Yeah.
But then it seemed like for a while there you were kind of dropping down a little bit.
Again, that was a mental thing, and that's something I'm quite aware of. For me, that's the biggest challenge, and maybe one of the reasons I've always enjoyed hunting alone is because I don't have that external pressure. And I told Olivia the other night, hunting's a very personal thing for me, and it's hard to share that with folks.
That dangerous game course was a lot of fun. What did you think?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I would do that.
How did you feel like you did on that?
Well, I know I completely blew the leopard. If we had a trail like that and we had moving targets like that back home, I would do that for fun just every weekend, every chance I got, because we just don't have anything like that.
If you could go back to FTW and really hone in on a skill, what would be the thing that you'd like to learn more about and get better at?
Probably the longer range with angles. You know, obviously I failed at that. Because it's been 10 years since I lived in anywhere with sort of mountainous terrain, and I was never taught about angles. I learned all that stuff kind of myself, just holdovers. My sister and I went to Kyrgyzstan, and you know, I wasn't the one pulling the trigger, but if I was, now that I look at it, man, I wish I would have really liked to have had angle training on distances in those mountains, because you need it. The dangerous game is a lot of fun, but I think I had a little bit of an advantage in my experience with shotguns because of that and acquiring targets. But
after the initial competition phase, Meadow's score sits at 870 points. But with the addition of the judges' initial scores, she moves up to 905.
Our Burris Veracity scope gave me a lot of confidence.
It tracked so beautifully, whether it was 700 yards back to 250 yards.
The glass was amazingly clear.
It worked very well.
Absolutely awesome.
Out hunting is for real, so you have to trust in your gear, and I really think I can trust in Burris.
To learn more about Extreme Huntress hunting and shooting workshops and to vote for your favorite Extreme Huntress, go to extremehuntress.com. The final Extreme Huntress to sit down with our judges is Ulrika.
Ulrika, one of the things that we're so often confronted with as hunters is by people who don't hunt.
Yeah.
And their question seems to always be much the same as, why do you hunt?
To start with is because of the food. I want to provide my family with food, especially my kids. Where I come from, Sweden, is we have some really nice nature. The forests, the mountains, creeks, lakes, coasts, oceans. I want to be outdoor. And if I can combine walking, hiking, being outdoor with taking a game back with me home for dinner, that's the ultimate.
With your desire to hunt, but what do you think other people should hunt? Why should we be encouraging other ladies to hunt, other men to hunt, other kids to hunt? Why should they be hunting?
Because in Sweden we don't really have to hunt for trophies. We can manage the economy. We don't have that problems. But in, for example, Africa, there's a big difference. You could an entire little town can be depending on water, education, school, doctors, because of one guy coming there hunting. If we are educated and have the knowledge to tell people all around the world about this, we will be more, they will understand why we do it, and perhaps we can get the next generation to be with us in that fight.
Well, we want to talk a little bit about your experience at Extreme Huntress and some of the things that we've seen, and want to understand a little bit of perspectives from you as well. We started out at the FTW Ranch, where you guys had a session starting with Walt, and then we started judging you on lots of different challenges that you went through, starting off with that 2-mile run.
Yeah.
And of course you were towards the back end, but I later understood you had a broken ankle. It's pretty prohibitive of you.
Yeah. I didn't want to tell you about that because I think going to this competition, I don't want to be the one with a broken ankle and there's an arm not really functional. I want to be in this competition on the same as everyone else. I could probably have been running faster. I know I can, but in the end of the day, I want to save my ankle for the rest of the week.
I'm looking over how the scores went by the individual events at the FTW as far as the shooting things are concerned, and I think we had about, when it's all said and done, we're going to have about 14, 15, 16, 17 competitions that were done while we're there. And I noticed that in looking through here, you were very consistent in numerous things. There was one here, though, that the 25-yard movers.
Yeah.
Remember those where we're shooting at the target?
Yeah, yeah.
I was really kind of disappointed in you because you finished last in that one.
Yeah, yeah.
And in the shooting that you do you shoot running game?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What do you think? Where was there a disconnect with that?
I think, to be honest, my right arm hasn't been functional, and when you do some shooting, after a while, it's so I may have put the power on the first. We did that on the what do you call them, the buffaloes? Yes. Yeah, so I was really into that, concentrating, and because of I didn't have the strength to reload, I have to take down the gun every time and up, and that takes time.
Yes,
so I think that's, maybe that could, yeah. And actually, you're not supposed to show this on television because my doctor told me no shooting for 2 months because of my arm.
Well, he's not going to see it until later anyway, so he won't know.
I know, don't tell anyone. I think it's more about the whole situation, about doing what we do as a hunter. So I was kind of, on my flight from Sweden to the US, I was feeling comfortable about, I'm going to do my best, even if I'm not in that top condition.
So I was just looking at, on the first day, some of the long distance stuff that they did, and there was some times when you just hit, one target or just a few things here, but you killed the bolt manipulation drill. Nobody did it. She was the only one that did it. Boom, hit, reload, boom, hit. 3 times in a row. You just nailed it. It was like, I got this, baby. Watch me.
And there were 3 zeros in that same line from everybody else.
Exactly. It was pretty impressive. So that was excellent to watch you there.
Our burst veracity scope gave me a lot of confidence.
It tracked so beautifully, whether it was 700 yards back to 250 yards.
The glass was amazingly clear.
It worked very well.
Absolutely awesome.
Out hunting is for real, so you have to trust in your gear, and I really think I can trust in Boris.
Check out the latest line of Extreme Huntress apparel and products, from mugs and sweatshirts to custom knives. Find it at extremehuntress.com. To learn more about Extreme Huntress hunting and shooting workshops and to vote for your favorite Extreme Huntress, go to extremehuntress.com.
I've loved your attitude that you have. I was trying to find something that I could criticize you about, and I can't. I'll be honest with you. Maybe the only criticism is that you're not staying over several more days so we can spend more time hunting together. But I appreciate her total demeanor when she's in the field. She's very, very safe, and obviously she is very caring of the other people as well too.
Well, when we hunted together yesterday, and you were the primary hunter, and when we did go in pursuit of that animal, you're quick to move, you're ready to acquire the target, to make the thing happen and come together. But what's great is you don't get flustered. I think it's got to do a lot with your experience in being in front of a camera and understanding the whole dynamics behind the scenes, where a lot of gals get more frustrated having a cameraman, a judge, an observer. That's a lot to take on, and for you it didn't fluster you, so you were able to stay even keel all the way through to the actual moment of impact and retrieval of the animal. And I appreciate that a lot. I think that's an absolute strength, of course, but as you're a hunter,
I have focus on what I'm gonna do, no matter what happens around. If there's a bad weather coming, up in the hills hunting for ptarmigan, there's a snowstorm coming, I don't care. I'm gonna go for that ptarmigan.
Go after that what?
Ptarmigan.
The P in English is silent, so it's just ptarmigan.
Ptarmigan, okay.
Yeah.
You say, you say ptarmigan, ptarmigan. Okay, you do.
Prior to the addition of the judges' initial scores, Ulrika is sitting at 942.5 points. Once the judges' scores are added, she's up to 977.5 points. In final scores, less than 200 points separate first place from last. Now it's up to you. This one is so close that your vote will make a difference. Go to extremehuntress.com and vote for your favorite huntress today. Extreme Huntress is brought to you by Burris Optics, Find What Matters, Coppersmith Global Logistics, serving hunters worldwide, and Sam Hunter Training by FTW. Additional support provided by these fine sponsors.